Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern-day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
Every week we take you deep into the British underworld, where encrypted phones, double lives and dark deals shape the hidden reality behind our streets. If you're into hard-hitting true crime stories and underworld investigations, do us a favour, hit like, drop a comment, subscribe and share this video. That's the best way to help us grow and keep these stories coming. Now, let's get into today's case. He was fast, he was brutal, and he had the world at his feet. Lee Murray was destined to become a UFC legend until he masterminded the biggest cash heist in British history. This is not just the story of a fighter. This is the story of a gangster, a genius, a ghost, a man who traded the cage for a criminal empire and almost got away with it. 53 million gone without a trace. This is the story of Lee Murray. Lee Brahim Murray Lamrani was born on November 12, 1977, in Greenwich, South London, to a Moroccan father and English mother. But there was nothing balanced about his upbringing. On his mother Barbara Murray's side, Lee's family hails from Bermondsey, a densely populated semi-docklands part of South London between Tower Bridge and the Old Kent Road, which is considered a traditional breeding ground for professional criminals, especially armed robbers. Barbara was a hairdresser and later a telephonist. On a holiday to Gran Canaria, she met Lee's father, Brahim Lamrani, a kitchen hand from the southern Moroccan city of Sidi Ifni. The couple's first child, Lee, was born in St Nicholas Hospital, Plumstead, on the 12th of November 1977, and was initially raised by his mother while Brahim continued to live and work in the Canary Islands. Eventually, he moved to England and married Barbara in 1984, and in 1985 she gave birth to Lee's only sibling, Rakia. The family lived at 11 Buttmarsh Close, Woolwich, and Murray attended Foxfield Primary School, where he met his future wife, Sayobun Rowlings, 3 years his junior. Murray's closest associates at this point were boys from Buttmarsh and the surrounding estates who called themselves the Buttmarsh Boys, described as happy kids, who used to play like normal kids on the estate. The boys fought to establish an internal pecking order and believed they had a duty to look after Buttmarsh, sometimes engaging in fights with boys from neighbouring estates. A skinny youngster, Murray's preferred method of attack was running into battle, windmilling his arms around his head with a manic expression on his face, a manoeuvre which, combined with his protruding ears, earned him the nickname of Alien, which he hated. Murray had a difficult relationship with his father, who was often drunk and described as a frightening, violent man who was volatile and domineering. Largely absent from the first 7 years of his life, Brahim demanded his respect and obedience to the point of a police warning for mistreatment. Eventually, Lee began to fight back against his father. The next-door neighbour heard that Brahim actually went and hit Lee, and Lee snapped, just turned round and knocked his dad clean out. Once he realised he could take down a big man like that, I think that's what changed Lee into the man he is now, a thug. Their relationship grew so tempestuous that Brahim felt living together would result in a death, so he moved out. Barbara was then left to raise Lee and Arkia largely on her own. At this time, Lee began attending Eaglesfield Boys' School, which is where he met his eventual best friend and partner in crime, Paul Allen. Murray, who enjoyed reading and puzzles, was a subpar student mainly doing well in football, failing to make the school team. Teachers found him unmanageable. He was expelled and found enrolment at Woolwich Polytechnic School to complete the statutory years of school. By then, Murray was living on the streets and was a member of a gang based on the Barnfield estate, with stealing and drug dealing a part of everyday activity. He and his friends were allegedly in daily contact with Nigerian drug dealers who operated at Plumstead train station, and an eventual turf war broke out that saw Murray and his friends win a local territory in drug trading. I grew up angry, ready to fight the world, Lee once said. That wasn't just talk. His father was violent, his environment worse. He was raised on the notorious Buttmarsh estate, a place known more for drug dealers and stabbings than hope or opportunity. He joined local gangs early on, first the Buttmarsh boys, then the Barnfield gang. Drugs, violence and crime weren't hobbies, they were currency. You had to fight, every day. Lee didn't back down, he hit first. At school, he was unpredictable. Brilliant one minute, disruptive the next. Teachers gave up. The streets didn't. In his late teens, something clicked. Lee discovered mixed martial arts. It started with street scraps, bare-knuckle fights, local legends. But Lee wasn't just tough, he was fast, calculated, dangerous. It was like watching a pit bull on Red Bull, one trainer said. Murray was eventually convicted of possession of cocaine and cannabis, was named in the Old Bailey as a notorious London drug dealer who employed Paul Allen as his right-hand man, plus a network of drug runners. One of his best friends from this time was a local ruffian and future mixed martial artist named Mark "The Beast" Epstein, who claimed that he and Lee sold crack cocaine and Lee made a lot of money from that. Murray also proved himself adept at the more violent side of selling drugs, typically to control territory and make sure customers paid. Murray himself claimed that some people would probably say I was a bully, but a bully to me is someone that goes for easy targets and people who can't fight back. Me, I went for all targets. Murray was known for punching people almost at random in the street, as well as habitually harassing a man who ran a local corner shop. Murray was sentenced to a term at Feltham Young Offenders Institution, the first of his custodial sentences for what ranked as his more minor offences, such as assault and thievery. Others followed in Dover and Norwich. Upon emerging from Feltham, Murray devoted energy to the gym, lifting weights and drinking weight-gain shakes to add bulk to his lanky 6-foot frame. Joining him was Allen, who by then was known as the Enforcer, presumably from drug-dealing activity. Murray and Allen were soon using steroids and spending the money they earned from selling drugs on luxury cars. The police stopped Murray regularly, and because they suspected he was a drug dealer, attempted to place an informer in his gang, but could not gain enough evidence to prosecute Murray. He was contemptuous of the police, often mocking and intimidating them on the streets, sometimes following officers around in his car. Some officers at Plumstead Police Station told his biographer others felt wary. It would be best not to aggravate him, and added, "He's a very dangerous man." Rowlings, Murray's girlfriend, gave birth to their first child, Lily Jane, on the 24th of December 1998. Weeks later, Murray was caught up in a turf war with rival drug dealers that led to the arrest of Epstein and more than a dozen others, many ending up in prison. Murray, however, got clean away, with Epstein saying that he was the only one that slipped through the net. I mean, lucky boy, but he's always been lucky. I went to prison for 3 years. Shortly after dodging arrest, Murray was introduced to mixed martial arts, and he competed in his first fight on the 5th of December 1999 at an event called Millennium Brawl that was held at Hemel Hempstead Pavilion. His opponent was Rob Hudson, and Murray knocked him out in the first round, prompting event promoter Andy Jardine to say he was so quick they called him Lightning Lee Murray. Murray's successful debut led him to begin training seriously. He jogged around the Abbey Wood estate and attended 2 gyms, London Shoot Fighters in White City for wrestling and Peacock's Gym in Canning Town for boxing. Martin Bowers, who ran Peacock's with his brothers Tony and Paul, described Murray as a very nice boy who conducted himself well. Bowers said that Murray reminded him of many other young men who he had seen in his gym over the years, men who had come from troubled backgrounds but whose lives were given structure by sport. At the same time that Murray was training at Peacock's Gym, the Bowers brothers were planning a series of robberies, the biggest being a brazen raid on a high-security warehouse at Gatwick Airport. Their scheme involved disguising themselves as security officers, using a fake Brinks-Mat van to get into the depot, and then stealing £1 million in foreign currency. After Scotland Yard found out about the planned heist, all 3 brothers were arrested and jailed. It has been speculated that while Murray had no prior knowledge about the caper, The schematics that were later revealed publicly may have given him some of the ideas that were used in the similar Securitas depot robbery. Murray had 4 professional fights in 2000. The first was a 12th of March encounter with Mike Tomlinson under the banner of Ring of Truth. Murray won the fight via a Kimura submission in the first round, but it was in February 2004 that he would expand on some of the events surrounding the fight. Writing on a message board in a now archived thread from the mixed martial arts website Sherdog, Murray told the story of watching the Prince Naseem Hamed versus Vuyani Bungu fight at a pub the night before his own match with Tomlinson, when a patron stood in front of Murray and then accused him of stealing his seat. After being asked to move, Murray allegedly knocked the man and his friend who attempted to aid him, unconscious, followed by knee strikes to knock out a bartender who rushed to break up the fight. The following morning and day of his fight with Tomlinson, Murray was unable to close his left hand. After taping the hand, Murray relied solely on his good right hand, stating that he caught him Tomlinson with a few good rights. He was rocked, so he took me down, then I caught him in a key lock on the ground and won the fight. After that, I went to the hospital and got my hand plastered up. It was broke in 2 places. Murray's next 2 bouts took place on 17th of June 2000 in a tournament fought at Extreme Challenge 34. Murray defeated Bandia was a kickboxer because he was wearing tie shorts, so he started the fight out with leg kicks. When Albandia surprised Murray by performing a single leg takedown, Murray said he sprawled and took him to the side of the cage, where I was kneeing him and punching constantly. He dropped again and took me down, going for a leg lock. So I grabbed his leg and went to trade leg locks with him. I cranked an Achilles lock on, and I think it must have snapped because there was a real loud crack. Even Pat heard it in my corner, and when Chris got up, he couldn't put weight on it. So I won that one. The victory advanced Murray to the second round of the tournament, but he lost by armbar to Canadian submission specialist Joe Doerksen in the opening round. Murray said that when he went into the final, I was so happy and excited about winning the first, I just sort of lost my focus. Doerksen's a BJJ Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy who's only ever lost to Matt Hughes and Eugene Jackson. Anyway, he just took me straight to the ground. I didn't even make him pay while he tried. He launched a 3-sub attack at me with me in his guard. I fended off 2 and then got submitted with a key lock. I learnt a lot from that fight. On the 11th of March 2001, Murray fought to a draw against Chris Bacon at Millennium Brawl 2, Capital Punishment. He followed that up with a first-round knockout of Gary Warren at Millennium Brawl 3, Independence Day on the 1st of July. In his UFC debut, he defeated George Rivera by triangle choke armbar in the first round. This was Murray's only fight in the UFC due to complications with his US visa as a result of ongoing criminal prosecution against him in the UK for assault, after he attacked a man during a road rage incident. Murray was scheduled to fight Patrick Corte at UFC 52, but was replaced by former opponent Joe Doerksen. This led to Murray signing with the Cage Rage promotion. On the 11th of September 2004, Lee fought future UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva in Cage Rage 8 for the vacant middleweight title. Silva won by unanimous decision. Murray's time with Cage Rage was also short-lived due to injuries resulting from a stabbing, which prevented Murray from continuing his MMA career. But Murray didn't leave the streets behind. He brought them into the fight world. July 13th, 2002, UFC 38, London. After the fights, a group of top MMA fighters, including Tito Ortiz, went to a nightclub. What happened next became legend. Lee dropped Tito Ortiz in the street. Just dropped him, said Pat Miletic. Accounts vary. Some say Murray knocked out the UFC champion cold with a right hook and a soccer kick. Ortiz denies it ever happened. But everyone agrees. It was brutal, and it cemented Lee's rep as the real deal. Murray asserts he knocked Ortiz out with a 5-punch combination and a boot to the head with steel-toe boots when Tito Ortiz was down and out, a claim substantiated by Matt Hughes in his book Made in America, the most dominant champion in UFC history, as well as Pat Miletic during an interview with ESPN and the documentary Catching Lightning, and also the announcer Bruce Buffer in Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing podcast. However, Tito Ortiz denies he was knocked out. Chuck Liddell has also stated that he did not see Tone knocked unconscious. On the 28th of September 2005, Murray was hospitalised after being stabbed in a brawl during the birthday party of British glamour model Lauren Pope and the birthday party of his friend and boxing trainer Terry Coulter. He suffered a punctured lung and a severed artery after entering the fight to defend his friend from being hurt or stabbed. According to the doctor who performed the life-saving surgery on Murray, he was resuscitated 4 times during the operation that saved his life. When thanked, the doctor remarked that Lee should thank the nurses who had run the blood bags from the blood bank, because that was what had saved his life. He fought Jorge Rivera, winning by triangle choke in under 2 minutes. Dana White was impressed. Lee was on the cusp of UFC stardom. But then it all collapsed. His criminal record blocked his US visa. Past convictions, assault charges, gang ties, it all came back to haunt him. And just like that, Lee Murray's UFC career was over before it had begun. So what does a fighter do when he can't fight? Lee returned to London and returned to the underworld. He had fame, he had muscle, he had connections. All he needed now was a plan. September 25th, 2005. A quiet birthday party in London turned into a bloodbath. Lee was ambushed outside a club, stabbed in the chest, stomach and neck. He lost litres of blood. He was clinically dead multiple times. He shouldn't have survived, but he did. Like a machine, said one EMT. Many believe this was a wake-up call, but it wasn't. It was fuel. Lee Murray didn't die that night, but something inside him did, and what rose in its place was far more dangerous. Early 2006, Murray was training in Morocco, but in secret he was plotting something far bigger than a comeback. The Securitas depot in Tonbridge, Kent, was holding more cash than any bank in Britain's, over £200 million. It was supposed to be impenetrable, but Lee and his crew had a plan. It started with surveillance, watching depot routines, staff movements, security lapses. Then came the inside man, Emir Heisenaj, an employee at the depot placed by the gang. Lee's team studied the depot for weeks, and then on the night of February 21st, 2006, they made their move. The gang posed as armed police officers and abducted Colin Dixon, the depot manager, as he was driving home. At the same time, another team kidnapped his wife and young son from their home. Dixon was told, point blank, cooperate or your family dies. Wearing latex masks and dressed in police uniforms, the gang forced Dixon to unlock the depot from the inside. They tied up 14 workers, loaded the money into a truck, and vanished into the night. There, he bought luxury cars, a mansion, and partied like royalty. He even joked about the robbery, calling himself the Moroccan job. But back in Britain, the police were closing in. A team of detectives connected phone records, cars, and plastic ties. One by one, Murray's accomplices were arrested, but Lee remained out of reach. That changed in June 2006 when Moroccan police, pressured by Scotland Yard, raided his villa in Rabat. Murray tried to bribe his way out. He even plotted to escape from prison. But the Moroccan government had other plans. On the 25th of June 2006, in a joint operation with Moroccan police, Murray was arrested at a shopping centre in the Suisi district. Murray that he was able to use his money to smuggle in items like these, as well as expensive clothes. The fellow prisoner who broke into his cell was doing so to steal some of Murray's belongings. He was convicted of the £53 million crime in a Moroccan court in June 2010. Kent police said Murray must serve 10 years in jail in Morocco for his involvement. This sentence was then extended to 25 years on the 30th of November 2010. Lee Murray's story is more than crime, more than fighting. It's a tragedy. He had all the makings of a UFC champion. He had charisma, power, and a fan base, but he also had rage and greed and demons. I don't regret it. I just regret getting caught, he once said. Today, he sits behind bars in Morocco, his name a whisper in the MMA world and a legend in the streets. Some call him a wasted talent. Others call him a criminal genius. But to most, Lee Murray is the man who nearly pulled off the perfect crime. He lived fast, he fought hard, and he fell harder. This is the story of the fighter who robbed Britain blind. This is the story of Lee Murray.